This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
It's going to be a great weekend for us, obviously, especially coming after, an 0-4 week and two tough losses at Georgia last weekend, a one-run loss, two one-run losses, and one of them walk off with a big lead going into the bottom of the ninth, and to come back and to play really, really great all weekend. I mean, we had a ball jump out of second baseman's glove there in the ninth. That was our only error of the weekend, and we played great defense. So we didn't give them a whole lot, walked them too many times today. They're very disciplined at the plate. But you look at the numbers of the game, I mean, we outscored them by a run. We had the same amount of hits. Both teams struck out 11 times, and we did just enough. Obviously, we're way down in our pitching. We had maybe another freshman available, lefty, that hadn't pitched but an inning or two, and maybe not in conference at all. And we had Ben McLaughlin, our DH. That's all we had left. And we found a way to win the game. Parker Cole came in and said, "Hey, give me the ball. I'm good." And in the ninth inning, he gave up a leadoff home run with 2 strikes, but it really wasn't a bad pitch. It was down, and big lefty just got it. And that's the way the game works sometime. But just proud of our guys for hanging in there and winning the game and sweeping an SEC series, which is really hard to do.
Dave, you talked about the pitching you had available there at the end. Did you find yourself counting outs there near the end?
I count outs every game. Every game I'm looking. We need 6 more, 7 more, 3 more, 2 more, whatever. You're always counting outs and trying to figure out how you want to get them. Hindsight's 2020. Probably should have left Morris in, but from what he's shown us throughout this season, you look at the numbers, we've left him in maybe 1 hit or 2 long, and bang, there you go. And we just thought Fouch would come in and really pitch well after what happened the other day, and it didn't go that well. If he could have just given us 4 outs, that out, a couple more, 3 more, I think we would have felt a lot better about where we are. But when that didn't work out, then we were scrambling.
Speaking of Morris, his last outing on Tuesday didn't go great, but you went to him when it was still, I think, 2-0 at the time. Just what went into that decision, and what did you see from him, especially that first inning?
Well, Cody was pretty much done. He threw 2 innings on Tuesday as well, and he walked 3 guys, but he also battled back when he was behind the count. And it was time to get him. We just didn't want to leave him in too long again. And Morris, was one of our guys last year in tough situations, and he met with Coach. We met with him individually a couple of times. He came in my office, said, "I want to help the team. I'm still in it. Mentally, don't give up on me." And we said, "Well, you're going to get the ball again. And I don't know when it is, when you go out there and get it done. Go do it." And he did it today. So we just had a little confidence in him.
I believe you guys had 4 sacrifice bunts coming into the weekend, and then I think you doubled that the last 2 days. Did that kind of remind you of 2013, 14, the way you guys were manufacturing runs? And it obviously worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it was kind of the situation, where we were. You get maybe 6 and 7 get on base, and there you got 8, 9, or whatever the situation may be. And those guys, like I've said many times, those are more defensive players right now. Although Bolton had a great day, good for him, 3 for 3, I think, with a sack. And I don't know, had a good day. But we work on it. We just haven't done it a whole lot. We've got to have it in there when we need it. And some days you're going to play in a big ballpark, wind's blowing in, or whatever the case may be, or just nasty pitcher on the mound, tough to hit. You just got to try to get somebody to third with less than 2 outs and punch in a run. And that's kind of what we were trying to do.
You mentioned Bolton and Morris there, and Adcock's another guy that you guys have had confidence in and given him plenty of opportunities. They all kind of came up big today. Just what can you say about the determination of all 3 of those guys to really just stick with it and come up with a big performance today?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talk about behind closed doors. We got to have those guys if we're going to have success, especially later in a weekend or a regional or a tournament or anything. We got to have a little more depth there, especially with all the injuries. And, those guys start out good, then they kind of went the other direction, and I think they're climbing their way out. And this is the time of year they need to do it. And obviously, we wouldn't have won the game today without those guys, 100%.
A lot of traffic on the bases for A&M today to get that double play in the fourth and then go out and score 5 in the fifth. That momentum shift, how important was it?
Was big, and they kicked it around a little bit, and they don't kick it around much. I mean, if you look at the defensive numbers, ours were almost identical with theirs coming into this. I don't think they had made an error going into today in the 2 previous games. I think they made 2 in 1 inning, and a couple plays that were borderline, and then we tried to give it back to them there a little bit, but luckily we got another big double play ball and finally got out of that inning because we had 2 double play balls in that inning. And Peyton's arm's bothering him. We all know it. He knows it. And we're just glad to get through that game.
Not to hammer the injury point, but can you recall a season in which you've had such widespread injuries and position players and more injuries like this?
Had an injury yesterday in pregame. I didn't even know it till this morning. Holt twisted his ankle. He come to the field with, and I guess it got worse overnight and swelled up. He's wearing crutches. He's on crutches when he walks in the dugout. I knew you twisted. He told me, he goes, it got worse overnight. And then he was asking me if he could go play second base at the end of the game. I said, you came here with crutches today, dude. I tried to pull Stovall out and he wouldn't let me in the ninth just because his arm was bothering him and whatever. But no, I mean, to answer your question, I really don't, I see all those guys out there in the MASH unit working out while we're taking batting practice. They're staying in shape in the outfield. I'm just saying, please get back. We need to get you guys back. And for us to win some games this weekend, big, because next week we go to Mississippi State and they score a lot of runs and, they've got good arms. And we got South Carolina and then we get to finish at Vandy. So it doesn't get any easier. It's just life in the SEC. And honestly, I normally don't even really know off the top of my head who are playing 3 weeks down the road. Maybe the weekend, the 2 previous, but with all the injuries, I've kind of glanced at it thinking we can get these guys back maybe for this series or for the tournament or whatever. But we put ourselves in good shape to not panic, so to speak, down the stretch.
Dave, I want to get your thoughts on the action rules and pace of play, not just the concept, but also how it's being applied.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to get used to it. I feel bad for the umpires, honestly, because they get a memo about every 2 weeks and they're changing rules. Now they changed the rule this week. There was a 45-minute video sent to us and it's talking about, when you're going to pick somebody off a second, you've got to actually throw it to somebody. You can't just bloop it to them or it's a ball. And then it's their judgment. So guys at short running in, so guys got to just snap it to him with a little hump in it instead of, I don't know. It seems to be, it's tough for them to, I think, administrate the rules when maybe they're not 100% on what they're supposed to do. We're not 100% on what's what. The speed up rule to me, I think it can be good. I don't really like it with runners on base. That's my only thing. I can't give signs anymore to the defense. We've got to basically tell the catcher because he can go out without the clock start. But if I'm out there trying to give a bunt coverage or which base we want to throw to with the runner first and second, a steal situation, I don't have enough time. And so we're all getting used to it. So I don't know, I'm tiptoeing around your question a little bit, but I don't want to say the wrong thing and have people mad at me.
I guess going off that, how have the catchers kind of handled their additional roles in doing that?
I mean, that's a good question. I believe that for the most part, they've done a good job. They wear headsets. So now we can radio in, we're going to throw to third. So then they can go out and give a sign. I mean, we're very fortunate. We have a catcher that calls pitches and we will help him with pitches, but he's going to call most of them. The pitchers always have the right to shake off here. We're not going to get upset with them if they shake us off and give up a double. We want to give them some freedom because we want them to be, whenever they're going to throw a pitch, they need to be, they need to do it with conviction. And so if they don't want to throw a fastball that we've called and they want to throw a slider, then they need to throw a slider. Anyway, that's another story. But I think the catchers have done a really good job. At least ours have. He's a little older, but first year at the Division I level at this level, like A&M's catching a young guy, so maybe they need to control him more. But for the most part, puts a lot of responsibility on the catchers.
And I was wondering the explanation you got on the fair foul call and what that was about.
So, Birmingham is the one who makes that decision. And they said that the ball hit the ground before it got to the bag. So I thought the ball hit in the air past the base. I don't know. I would just kind of caught it. I'm going off of coaches and our third baseman's reaction. And they said that, so that made it where they could not appeal it, or I could not ask for them to look at it.
I know you were asked about the bunts earlier, but you had 4 sac fly RBIs during the series. Just what do you think about all the little things that your team did right and maybe how it affected the outcome?
Well, I think it had affected 2 or 3 games, maybe all 3 games, because the sac flies weren't putting us in the lead, so to speak, but it was building on our lead. It was giving us an opportunity to put more pressure on their offense. You know, if you're down 1 or 2 and all of a sudden you're down 3 or 4, guys are maybe trying to hit the ball a little harder than they need to. And, you know, there's a little urgency in the other dugout a lot of times when you fall behind like that. So for us to keep, it's kind of like a football team, you know, they're up 6 and they kick a field goal. Now they're up 9. Now you got to score twice. It's just that mindset there. Was I right on that, or should I call Coach Pittman? So, but that's the way I look at it. We just got to keep adding to this, you know. So we're up 3. So a 2-run homer doesn't give them the lead. It's baseball.
You may have said his name and I missed it, but as you're rattling off the pitchers who you had available, so I didn't hear you say Austin Ledbetter. Was he available?
No,
this
he went on
weekend?
the roster.
Okay.
Yeah.
You touched on him a little bit, but John Bolton, just what did you think of the weekend he had as on the whole?
Really good weekend. Laid down 3 or 4 bunts, took some walks, scored runs, stole a base, got 3 hits today, drove in 2 runs. I know he scored a run, I think it seemed like. And, you know, today was his day. You never know when it's going to be your day to really help the team on the offensive side. He always helps the team on the defensive side. And, you know, if he can get his confidence going, I think he's going to continue to hit and start being a force and a threat down at the end. Be great.
Dave, we talked about your injuries, but Roland yesterday took 2 hard foul tips off his body. And is he okay?
Yeah. He took one off the thigh, maybe one off the kneecap. I don't know where the other one hit. It seemed like he had 3, but you know, that's the best position on the field. The only guy that's looking at the whole field, but it's a dangerous position. Some people call it the tools of ignorance as your equipment. And, you gotta be tough to play back there. And he's tough.
BetOnline.ag is your #1 source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right down to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.